Hello, I'm Toycat, and as you all know, this channel is ultimately all about maps, and the maps that I interface most with on a daily basis, living in London, is obviously the map of the tube and rail services across the capital. This is an incredibly handy map that can tell you how to get from A to B in all of the different ways that you can do it, but it has one big fatal flaw right now, and it's that all of the Overground services, this is about half of the network, are all in orange right now, which means they're confusingly all labelled the same, which means even when we look right here and we see that there's a bunch of orange, they actually all go to different places on different lines, and it's just very, very confusing, especially to outsiders. This is something that London has decided to fix because they've officially come up with new names for the 6 Overground lines. As you can see, they've all got colours, they've got unique names, and on the new tube map, they will all appear differently, which means the exact same problem has gone away. This triangle, or this kind of area of London, now has a red line, a purple line, a blue line, and a green line, and it's clear exactly when they cross over. The red goes with nothing, the blue vaguely goes with the purple, and the purple vaguely goes with the green. I think connectivity is also a big problem, but as far as the lines are going, this is a very big improvement, at least as far as colours are concerned. I think there are lots of positive things to say about the idea that they're finally doing this. It's been years and years since they spoke about going into it and doing consultations. They have mentioned that they had to work with customers, stakeholders, historians, and industry experts and local communities. It's something that takes a lot of time to come up with brand new names. However, the names they came up with are really interesting. I think a lot of cynical people say like, oh, they've gone woke and it's instead of having like names that represent the communities, they're trying to make some political point, because the Lioness line is to honour the achievements of the England women's football team. The Mildmay lines is about a small charitable hospital in Shoreditch, which had an important role in the HIV/AIDS crisis. There's the Windrush line because there's a lot of Afro-Caribbean communities, and obviously they're trying to honour them by naming the line after it. There's the Weaver line because there were people in the textile trade in that general area. There's the Suffragette line because there were working class people in the East End who would fight towards women's rights. And then there's the Liberty line because of the historical independence of the people of the borough of Havering. And I do want to say that the tube map in general is one of the most important icons of this city, and that making these colours is very, very good by itself. I think the objective improvements of this are like, yeah, that's actually pretty solid, and I think some of these names do just work by themselves. They can, in my opinion, sometimes a name works to honour something in the abstract, like, I don't know, the Victoria line or something, but then it becomes its whole own thing. In the same way that Waterloo is a station that was built to honour the Battle of Waterloo, but at this point it's almost surprising when you learn about the battle, because Waterloo is much more important. You can take something on of historical importance and then make it important in its own right, and presumably that is what will happen with most of these at some point. However, I want to just call out the fact that London claim that they spoke with historians. They've spent, by the way, the process of this is going to cost about £6.3 million. Most of that is on re-signage, but that still means they spent years and years and hundreds of thousands on working out what these lines should be named and which ones should get which colours. And first of all, they went with orange for one of them, which is like fair enough, it's the old Overground line, but if you were going to give the old Overground line colour to any line, I personally think it should have been the one that had the orange colour when it was a tube line, the East London line, or the Windrush line as it is now. Second of all, I want to say, you know what, you claim that you worked with customers and historians. However, I immediately something jumped out at me, which is they named the Mildmay line, which is Stratford to Richmond, Clapham Junction, on the map. That looks like the blue one over here. Oh wait, sorry, the blue one over here. But by the way, you can see one of the issues of the blue line. There's a blue line here and a blue line there, and we'll come back to it. But you can see from Stratford all the way up and over here round to Richmond, and obviously then also coming round Clapham Junction. This is called the Mildmay line, which honestly, fighting against HIV/AIDS, I don't think anyone should be against that. The only thing I think you can be against is looking up where the Mildmay Hospital actually is. So the Mildmay, because the reason that the Victoria line is called that, I made that reference earlier, is because it goes through Victoria Station. Here is, which is just over here if I'm not mistaken. So this is Victoria Station, and okay, yeah, that makes some sense. And the reason the Waterloo and City line is called that, if you'll believe it, is because it goes from Waterloo to the city, and the same is true for the Bakerloo line. It goes from Baker Street to Waterloo. A lot of lines are named after geographic features, so the Mildmay line, you're not naming after a hospital. If I want to go to the Mildmay Mission Hospital, something I very much might want to do, maybe I've got some really serious issues that need to be treated, it would be cool if I could catch the Mildmay line there, right? Except, I mean, I think it's kind of wild that, again, they consulted with historians. It's a tube map. They're map people. They have made the most crucial error, which is that the Mildmay Mission Hospital is not actually on the the Mildmay line. Instead, it's close to Shoreditch High Street. That's its closest station, I'd say. Hoxton is also very close. And then maybe Bethnal Green, which is on a separate line, whereas the closest Mildmay station line is all the way up here, Hackney Central, or maybe Dalston Kingsland, depending on which direction, which form of transport you're taking. But needless to say, the Mildmay line is closer to again, looking on the map here, it is right over here, where the red intersects the purple. There are two other lines closer than the Mildmay line. This line would not be very good for getting you into Shoreditch or to Mildmay Hospital at all, which means that it's named after something entirely irrelevant to it. And, that's before we talk about the fact that the Weaver line is just about, yeah, well, as we all know, London's very good for textiles. It feels like some of these were kind of lazily put together. I do genuinely think that, yeah, Lioness line, because it's going through, Wembley, like, there's some sense to that. There's obviously some political maneuvering in mentioning the England women's football team in particular, but sure, that's something by itself. But some of these are just geographically inaccurate. The Liberty line? What do you mean the historical independence of the borough of Havering? Is there a new country that we had to integrate that has just been rubbed from the history books? Also, the Liberty line is the saddest line on the again, it's the coolest name in my opinion, the Liberty line. But if you actually look on the map, the Liberty line is the saddest one. It's this one all the way over here. It goes from Romford to Upminster via Emerson Park. It's all in Zone 6. It's 3 stations. If I'm not mistaken, they have one train because it's single track. They just go back and forth. And it's the saddest overground line. It's the saddest part of the entire tube network in some people's opinion, and they gave it one of the coolest names. I think Liberty is something we should aspire to for all people, and I just think it's funny personally. So the overall pluses of this is obviously the fact that new line colors, they were needed at some point. New line names needed at some point. I do think that Liberty and Lioness and Weaver and Windrush, I feel like there's some better namings that you could have gone with if your whole goal was readability. But as far as the overall coloring, things are real good. Although it then makes you question, why is it, they did always say they were going to do 6 lines, but when you see them in colors, you realize how dumb it is that we group some of these together. The orange line, the Lioness line over here, it makes a perfect line and it feels like an underground line, just one that obviously goes overground. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. When you're looking at the blue line over here, like, sure, it splits in half at the end, but it also makes some sense. Same with the Liberty line, but take a look at the purple line, the weaving line, I'm going to guess. So if you take a look at that, you can see it runs from Liverpool Street and then to Bethnal Green, and then at Hackney Central, it splits into 2 separate branches right here, and it's like, well, that's kind of weird, isn't it? That doesn't feel like that's really like one line. That feels like 2 lines that are kind of pretending they're the same, but that's fine. That's totally cool. And then you take a look at the green line, and you're like, okay, that's great too. But the red one feels really, really odd to include together. A lot of people wanted this to be called the Brunel line. It used to be a tube line from over here down to there, and then they combined it with some railway lines. But now we've got a line that just feels like it's a whole tube network in its own right, like from New Cross to Highbury and Islington, or from West Croydon to Highbury and Islington, Crystal Palace and Clapham Junction, and there's like 4 separate different routes effectively on this one tube map, which is very unique for a tube line outside of the Northern Line. And so yeah, I do feel like this will make things the tiniest bit more confusing in a different way, because once you solve one problem, you kind of create another one. But I'm glad that new problem is much smaller, if that made any sense. The biggest cool thing about this to me is the tube map is looking much cooler, and that is fun. I love when you go to, say, Tokyo and the map just makes you go, whoa. Whereas the old tube map just made you go like, oh, there's a lot of weird things over there that I guess you're not really meant to take. That was always my conclusion before. Now you can look at it and say, oh yeah, there's a bunch of areas in East London that aren't well connected to each other. Maybe we should build a line and make it all work better. Because again, right now you can connect on the Victoria line between one branch of the purple and the green and the other branch of the purple, but you still can't really connect to many of the other places here. I guess you can also get to the blue line on it. There's like one tube line that connects to all of these overground lines, but otherwise they don't connect well to each other. They don't really, I'm just saying, we need a new line going all the way through there, and now that we have a better map, that should be clear. So yeah, that's London Overground Lines. I'm excited about it. It's a thing happening in my city, and I hope that you enjoyed learning about it from me today. If you didn't enjoy learning about it, then you know what? There's a few minutes left in this video. Let's talk about how France is considering denying birthright citizenship to people who live in the Indian Ocean island of Mayotte. That's really interesting, right? Or we could talk about, I don't know, the weather. It's been pretty good recently. I've been planning. I've been looking at Europe recently. If you want to know what I'm doing on maps, I've been looking at European countries and try points to find the easiest place you could go to free McDonald's in one day. You know, it's normal things that you do when you're a map person. And I've been looking at it, and I feel like, especially given French McDonald's, high quality McDonald's, one of the few good things that comes out of that country. I've been looking into it, and I've noticed there's a nice try point here where it still takes about an hour to go between the three, but you can have three countries' McDonald's all within an hour's drive between Switzerland, Italy, and France, which feels incorrect to me, right? Is that just me? Anyway, if you see a video of me going to Switzerland anytime soon, just know it's for the McDonald's solely. It will be really interesting to see that, like, these are all border regions. They're all drivable from each other. The price of McDonald's is going to be wildly different, I would bet, between the three, right? And I also can imagine the same would be true if you go between, say, Austria, Switzerland, and Italy, or Austria, Slovenia, and Italy. I bet you would get three very different McDonald's from these three areas. And, this channel is all about McDonald's at this point, isn't it? Which is really why these overground lines need to be better named, as like the McDonald's in Havering line and the McDonald's in the near the Wembley line, and I feel like that would be a much better branding. Could get some money to cover those 6.3 million redo costs. But more seriously, to bring this all back together, I do think it's exciting whenever a map changes, and I do think there's always going to be people who are hugely against it just on the base. And especially nowadays, there's always some political component of everything. It would have been nice in some people's minds to just see, like, yeah, well, the line, like, I think a lot of people could have just attached themselves to any name you would have given it. A lot of the names from people were very fun and very well loved, but I think there's always going to be people who are just mad that their thing didn't happen. And so even though these are very much, it is a left-leaning mayor, and he has chosen some very socially intriguing causes, to name his stuff after. But I think that there's going to be like 6 months where people go, oh, I'm catching the suffragette line, or whatever else they're doing. And then after a while, it just becomes like, yeah, that becomes the name of the line. I think the only one where that's not true is actually the suffragette line. I think the Weaver line and the Mildmay and the line, I think eventually these just blend into names that you say. And my only real issue is that Mildmay is not on the Mildmay line, and you can't actually go 20 boats on the Windrush line. And also, you probably shouldn't put the word rush in a tube line, because whatever, I could complain about this forever, but I like that it's happening regardless. I think that's something that should come out of all of this. I don't know, maybe the next mayor should just rebrand them all again. Maybe we should just do this every 5 years. Maybe everything should be political and it should all change all of the time. Or maybe, I don't know, we should just be excited about what we have. And speaking of being excited about what we have, let me know what you thought about the microphone. This video was all an excuse to test my friend's microphone. He left at my house, and let me know what you thought about it. Was it any better? It's a very expensive microphone. Should I buy one for myself, or would this be a negative use of money? Should we find out what it costs right now? Actually, should I do that? Yeah, I'm curious. It's let's go ahead. Let's do it. So it's a Neumann microphone. We'll find out what one of those costs, huh? So what's their most? It's an 87. That sounds right. It's a Neumann microphone 87. Oh, did you see those prices? Oh, yeah, I don't think I want one of these microphones anymore. Oh, should I be using it? Am I committing a crime right now? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's ever worthwhile. Should I be spending too fast? Okay, let's be real here right now. I've been setting the goals on the Patreon too low. Clearly what I need to be saying is, making $12 per video here. It's not going to be enough. We're going to have to increase the ads 100 times. Going to have to make videos that get more. Jesus Christ, is this normal internet? Is this? Whoa. You can get a gold one for 8,000. Who wants a gold micro? Is the microphone that good, or are people who are into it that much in love with it? Oh no, I think it's actually this one right here. Looking at it, do you wanna take a peek, internet? I'm pretty sure it's this one. It's still very expensive, but it's okay. I can have kebabs and I can have a microphone. Speaking of having kebabs and a microphone, hope you enjoyed this video. And let me know what you think about the microphone, because I'll see you More seriously, it's I do want to just round this video up by saying it is interesting that the most important map for everyone is going to be different. I think the true map that binds us all together is Google Maps because it tells us where we are in the world, and I think it's cool that even while talking about other maps, effectively some of the times it was best for me to show you like, okay, Google showing you on a tube map is always going to be distorted. The cool thing about Google Maps is it's perfectly the same all the time, and you can actually look at it and be like, oh, this is what. Why didn't you just show me this earlier, Toy Cat? And that's the beautiful thing about Google Maps. And if you do also spend too much time looking at it while you're out and about, just know we are the same. Whether we take the Mildmay line, the Liberty line, or the Victoria line, probably. Second channel, don't care. Bye.